Welcome to the Living History channel. We learn history through textbooks that record it through the lives and actions of great people who make history. We also study large-scale social transformations through documents and reports. We get another perspective through historic novels and movies that depict imaginary people living through historic times and events. The goal of the Living History Project is to present history through the eyes of the silent witnesses to great events or historic trends. They could be our family members or friends. Our aim is to preserve their stories to make history come alive for the future generations. Living History is a community project. We would like to hear your comments and suggestions on individual episodes. We also invite all of you to participate in the project by contributing episodes to this project that will help preserve a precious legacy for future generations. Please contact us by email at living.history.india@gmail.com. Thank you for subscribing to Living History Project. We are pleased to bring you the inaugural episode of Living History. This episode focuses on the dramatic changes in the lives of middle-class women living in cities in India over the past 100 years. In the late 19th and early 20th century, child marriages were not uncommon. Early widowhood condemned many of them to a life without hope or joy. In the early and mid-20th century, women started receiving education and their status in the society and family started rising. However, most of them did not seek, nor did they have access to careers or professional lives outside the home. That started changing rapidly as women started entering professions like medicine and law and teaching in large numbers from the mid-20th century. A career woman was no longer a curiosity. As the 21st century started evolving, the young women have many role models and paths for professional successes, as well as marriages that started becoming more like a true partnership. While this still cannot be considered to be the default position, even in educated city-dwelling class, it is fast becoming increasingly accepted path for women. In keeping with the spirit of the Living History Project, we look at this revolution through the personal experiences and memories of Dr. Prabhakar Tamboli, who recounts 5 generations of women in his long life: grandmother, mother, wife, daughter, and now granddaughter that spans over 120 years. Dr. Tamboli was born in the old princely state of Gwalior in 1928 in a family of modest means. He grew up in a house without electricity or running water and a roof that often leaked during rains. Through strong family values and support, his own brilliance and hard work, generosity of others, and a few breaks, he has become a world-renowned agricultural scientist who contributed significantly to India's Green Revolution in the 1960s. He received his PhD, supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, in agriculture and soil science from Iowa State University in a record 2 years in 1954. In addition to academic and research career in India, he served as an advisor to Afghanistan under the auspices of United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. He came to the US to work at the World Bank headquarters. After his retirement from the bank, he joined University of Maryland as an adjunct faculty and was recognized for his teaching excellence. Dr. Tamboli has numerous research publications and books to his credit and has received many awards in his long and distinguished career. In spite of his accomplishments, Dr. Tamboli has remained a humble and thoughtful person throughout his life. We are indeed honored to launch the Living History Project with his insightful observations and deeply personal memories.
Okay, so can we talk about your wife now?
Yeah,
Now that you have finished college, now you're earning.
yeah,
Did your parents talk about you getting married?
yeah.
And what were their expectations of you?
My father's expectation, or
Yeah, your father's expectations about you getting married to.
no, my father told me one thing: you do whatever you like, I will never interfere in your life.
Really?
Because his life he thought was ruined by his father by bringing him from Bombay to here, by marrying when he was not ready to marry. So he had a determination. He gave me a blank check. He says, Prabhakar, you do whatever you like in your life. I will never say don't do it. So I had a blank check and I knew my responsibility that I have to somehow get over this poverty business and put my family on a good footing.
So when did you think of getting married or looking for a girl?
No, no, it was divine intervention. I never wanted to marry initially because I have seen the perils of married life of my mother and my aunt, and I thought married life is miserable. So I didn't want to marry. But it so happened that I saw Suman in one of the musical concerts, and I had my own passion for classical music. And I was attending school for music part time in the evening. But I had to discontinue because it was interfering with my studies. So when I saw Suman accompanying Hirabai Badodekar, the top artist in Gwalior, I said, this is the girl I would like to marry. But I didn't know her even name. And the coincidence was within 3 days after I saw her, I met her in her house because my sister's marriage was organized in her house because our house was very small and we could not have organized any dinner or anything. So my father and Suman's father were friends. I did not know that. And my father went to Suman's father and said, for 3 days we want to take your house. He says, just gladly take it. He has a huge house. So I was the brother in charge of the marriage of my sister. So I got opportunity to meet Suman, and then that was love at first sight, and rest is all history. So
So,
it was coincidence, and then chemistry took over. I changed my mind, and I decided to marry.
so this how long was the span between you?
Oh, it was 4 years
Oh,
because
really?
yeah,
Oh,
because when I met her,
uh-huh.
it was I was in the second year. I just finished second year of the college. I had to go for 2 more years for undergraduate and 2 more for graduate. So for 4 years, out of which 2 years were in Delhi, New Delhi, we used to have only correspondence. And when I was in Gwalior, those first 2 years, we used to meet as a family get together. There was no private dating or no private meeting. So I used to find some excuse to go to her house, and she will find some excuse to come to my house, and we will have some family meeting. And we knew that we are going to marry, but we didn't know how it is going to turn because I didn't have degree, I didn't have job. Her father wanted to marry her as soon as possible, so she had to couple of times refuse the boys who came to see her because she wanted to wait till I finished my degree. But that romance went on very quietly. and very silently, although everybody knew that we are having romance, like cat drinking milk, closing her eyes. We thought nobody knows, but by our body action and reaction, they knew what is going on. So once I finished my degree in Delhi, I came back, and immediately, even before I finished my degree, I had a job because I had a scholarship from the government and they were obliged to give me job. So I joined as a lecturer second day of my finishing my degree. And I had a gazetted officer job of 150 rupees in those days.
Wow.
And I was in the seventh heaven. I said, I'm ready to marry now. So her father knew what was going on. Sue approached my father, and it was very happy marriage, happy families. Both the families were happy with this alliance. And I must say that 16, 17 years that we lived together with my mother and Suman was fantastic. There was not a single incident where there was any conflict between Suman and my mother.
So was the wedding
Oh, wonderful.
elaborate, or it was just a 4-5 hours wedding?
Pardon?
Your wedding was elaborate, like for
No,
two,
no,
three
no.
days?
It was relatively simple.
Okay.
Relatively simple, but in those days you would invite all the relatives and the friends and local people whose houses you have been to attend the wedding parties. So you have to return the reciprocate the
Favor.
hospitality. But
Yeah.
it was not a big function. Maybe 100, 125 people for
Okay.
dinner.
Oh, even then, that's a lot big.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to do studies abroad? What was the trigger?
That was the day one, because as soon as I finished my master's degree, I had a bond with the government for 5 years to serve them. So I was waiting for that bond to finish so that I can go for my PhD. So
Uh,
as before I finished my fifth year, I was applying for a PhD admission to different colleges, including Rockefeller Foundation. And I was admitted in IRI New Delhi for PhD, and but I was not getting any scholarship. So I had saving of 800 rupees in those days. So I said, okay, I will go and start and try for some scholarship or something. But in the meantime, I was lucky to get Rockefeller Fellowship. And they said that we will give you $500 scholarship. It was all India selection. Out of 300 candidates, only 3 or 4 were selected. So I was lucky. So I got scholarship. So I get to study, earn and learn. I was able to send money from from Iowa State to my parents to take care of them, and I could take care of my family. So I was very fortunate. Again, God's blessings and divine intervention to get my dream fulfilled. So I got my PhD degree and I got my funding to do both studies and take care of the family.
so by then you had 2 children.
Yeah. Actually, when I joined my PhD,
Uh-huh.
I already had 2 children.
Oh,
Because in those days also, although family planning was a little bit advanced, but I couldn't make it. I didn't want to have children that early, but somehow I got them. But now I am lucky that they are taking care of me.
so how many years did you live in the US?
2.5 years.
Only?
Yeah, I finished my PhD in record time in the
Wow.
whole history of Iowa State. Nobody has finished this PhD, because what I did was I worked in India on some important problems of soils.
Okay.
So I took my PhD thesis based on that experience.
Mm.
And I used to work 18 hours in Iowa and finished my PhD work side by side when I was doing the coursework. So I was very lucky. My professor used to laugh when I said I want to finish in 2 years because I don't have leave. I have leave of absence for 2 years.
Oh.
He says nobody has done it in 2 years, but I was lucky to do it.
So staying back in the US was not an option. You
No,
had,
it was a great option because even before I finished my PhD, they were willing to give me a job and they were paying enough money for me to repay if the government wants me to repay. But I decided and someone decided to come back to India because our both parents were there and my daughter was also in India. I did not take her. I took only my son because I had to study. So I thought I didn't have time to take care of the two children and wife.
so she
So,
stayed with the grandparents?
yeah, she stayed. Aslesha stayed with my parents.
Oh, really? Okay. So she was what, 7, 8 years old?
Yeah. Maybe 5 years, five
Oh,
to
really?
6 year
Wow.
old. Yeah.
So did she ever say anything about it? Why did you leave me back and you went?
Well, not really. She didn't complain.
Okay.
She was happy with her. She was
Ajit.
pampered. She was pampered by both grandmothers.
Okay.
So she was quite happy. And it was a 2 year period. So 2.5 years. So it passed away very quickly.
So what was your role raising the children?
Zero. Because after I finished my PhD, during PhD, after the job, my travel, all India travel was so overwhelming that I had no chance, no time to take care of children. All the decisions about their schooling and everything was done by Suman. The most important decision was when I went to Kabul, I took both my children there. But there was only one high school, which was international, American international school. And their teaching and the standard of teaching was very poor. So Suman decided to send them back to India and in Sindhya school. So Satish went to Sindhya school and Aslesha went to girls school of Sindhya school. And both of them finished their what they call English degree. There was a name for that.
Senior Cambridge?
Senior Cambridge.
Okay.
Both of them passed senior Cambridge from Gwalior.
Okay. So now let's talk about Ashlesha.
Yeah.
When was she born and where was she educated? You told a minute ago that she basically lived back home in India.
Yeah.
So
She
when
was born. She was born in 1954, and then she went to high school in Jabalpur. When I was posted in Jabalpur after coming back from America,
Okay.
I was head of the department and assistant dean of the college there. So after finishing high school, she applied for admission to Bombay Sophia College.
Oh.
She got admission in Sophia College and she was in the dorm in the Sophia College.
Really?
And Satish got admission in the Pilani Engineering College. He was also IIT, selected for IIT, but he didn't get the subject of his choice. So he went to Pilani College. So by that time, I was in Jabalpur when they were studying both in Bombay and in Pilani.
So what made you go to Kabul? What was the...
Well, Kabul was an opportunity for me to get into international organization. When I was doing my work in Jabalpur, I was invited by International Forum, FAO, for some presentation for an international seminar in Russia. So I went there and I presented the paper. So FAO, United Nations, offered me a job. So I thought this was a good opportunity because I also held some problem of political interference in the education system. It's a different story. I can write a book on that. So I decided to, I didn't want to leave India. I was very happy with my job. But two things. One was the political interference. Number two, my dream was to get my children the best education. And because I studied in USA, I somehow wanted them to get education in USA. But at that time, I did not know that I will come to USA. My future in Kabul was hanging in all the years, very, very uncertain because all the appointments were done at 6 months extension. And I never knew where I'm going to go next. But again, divine intervention, and I got a job in the World Bank, and
So when
that's how I came to America. I wanted to remove poverty in the left developing countries. I didn't do much on that, but I got out of my poverty.
so what years were you in Kabul?
67 to 73.
Okay.
So this was post Green Revolution.
No, Green Revolution, I was part of it. Before I went to Kabul, I was part of the Green Revolution, working with Borlaug and other plant breeders
Really?
and providing them with the material related to the soils in technology for Green Revolution. But I had to, it was almost 90% there when I left. I left in 67. Revolution took place in 64 to 66.
Right. So Ravi, you have to talk about the granddaughter.
So yeah. So no, I think we still need to follow up on Aslesha.
Yeah,
Right.
So in 73,
Yeah.
you came to US
right.
at the World Bank.
Yeah.
And
Actually 74.
your
74.
children,
74. Yeah.
okay.
So my daughter,
And
yeah,
your children, yeah, go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead,
my
please.
daughter has just finished her BSc from Bombay University, senior chemistry, and she was applying for admission in USA. But at that time, as soon as I got admission, she came here with me and she applied for admission in GW and she got admission for her biochemistry master's and PhD program. And my son got admission engineering college GW also because he was with Pilani and Pilani and IIT MIT had a program, so his credits were transferred and he could get his engineering degree in 2 years from GW, and daughter got her PhD from GW in biochemistry. Then he worked for 1 year in NIH, then applied for MD. She got her MD. After MD, she worked for NIH again and did her MPH. So I used to tell her that only degree left now is law. And when are you going to get married? She says, when time comes, I'll get married. But like my father, I never interfered with their personal life and left the choice to them. And she got married at the age of 40. By coincidence, again, she met a very, very noble person and they are very happily married.
So she did her degree in ophthalmology, right?
No, she had a degree. She had admission in ophthalmology,
Oh, okay.
but she did not continue
Okay.
because she wanted to get married. It was getting late because after MD and after she has to spend 6 more years.
Right.
So she decided to quit that and start family practice
Okay.
and get thinking of getting married. But by the time she was already 40.
I heard that she was involved with Chinmaya Mission. How did that come about?
No, she was involved in Chinmaya Mission even when she was in the college.
Oh, really?
And she had great devotion she went every time she got opportunity to go to Chinmaya Mission. She will accompany Swami Chinmayananda himself to her camps. Whenever she got a break in vacation, when she was in college, she used to go there. She even today, she established a center in Minneapolis. She has been the director of the center of Chinmaya Mission for 10 years in Minneapolis.
Oh,
So did she listen to Krishnamurti when she was at Sophia College, or how did that come about?
Sophia College was just a chance because she wanted to go for chemistry degree. And she met one professor who influenced her to apply to Sophia College.
Okay.
Because she was in Bombay staying with my friend when she was studying in Bombay after finishing her high school. So she had an interest in chemistry and she found a good professor and she came out with degree honors in chemistry in Bombay University.
Very nice.
so the last generation is your granddaughter. So tell us about her.
Before we go to that, I want to mention about the generation of my wife and generation of my daughter. My wife's generation was different than from my mother because in that generation, my sister, my wife, they all got higher education. My mother never went to school, never went to any art or craft, but both my sisters went to school, went to college. My wife went, that generation in middle class, the top priority was education. And both of them got master's degree. My wife had double degree, master's in music, master's in economics.
Wow.
My sister had a degree in master's in geography. And that generation actually broke the ice of staying at home and taking care of children. And that, I think, was a landmark for the middle class family woman in India. I don't think it has changed so much in India. Today also in rural areas, it is not the case. But getting education and degree and taking care of the family in a very technical educational way was a different perspective than bringing up the children as it is. So they never went out for a job. Although they had a degree, they never pursued a job or they never worked outside and ignored the family. They took care of my parents, they took care of the children, and that, according to me, was an extremely important landmark in women's life. And they also had a choice to select their husband. There was no pressure on them. Unlike my mother, unlike my mother-in-law, they were all forced to marry. They had no choice. But my wife, my sister, everybody in that generation had complete freedom to choose their husband and complete freedom to go to school as long as they want to go. And I think that was a big step forward.
Was it all over India, or it was just a
Well,
peculiar
as I
about
said, it was in the middle class, educated families. Even in India today, there are bride marriages.
Yes.
In Rajasthan, I saw a video. 3 million girls are being married below the age of 10, even today. So in villages and in illiterate societies, that it is still the fashion of practice. But what I wanted to bring out that in my family, and we are not that rich, we're middle class family, but our emphasis was on education. And because both our
Yes.
earlier generation didn't have opportunity to go to school or they read and write. So that was a very big step forward.
Yes. So one can see how from your wife, Sumantai, to
Yeah,
Aslesha, who could
yeah,
have a full-blown career and
right,
family and
right,
take care
right.
of both in a remarkable
Correct,
manner.
correct, 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 correct.
So your granddaughter, can you tell
Yeah.
us about her?
Well, she is a very brilliant child. She was born in 92. And when she was born, I was in the seventh heaven because I was taking a flight from Washington to Minneapolis. 'Cause as soon as my daughter was admitted, they called me that she is about to deliver a baby. So I said, okay, I'm coming. So I took the first flight, me and my wife, and we were in the heaven when she was delivered. Now she has completely independent mind. She has no inhibition. She has chosen her own career. She is working. She is living by herself at the age of 2021. I mean, her parents are in Minneapolis, but she has a rented apartment. She's living with her friends. And she's a, she has developed art of writing poetry and composing and singing them. She has learned piano, guitar, and violin, cello, and she gives stage performances for charity. And I
Wow.
mean, it's just amazing. I mean, that's a completely different. She never thinks of marrying or settling down or having children. She's just busy in her own and she's enjoying it. You see her pictures, she always a smile on her face and enjoying everything that she is doing. And yet, very obedient to her parents, she never disobeys them. And her parents have given her complete freedom to do whatever she wants. So this generation is the top of the pinnacle of the woman's freedom. But there again is because it is in USA. I don't know if that is happening to her
Mm,
generation in India, to what extent.
mm,
And that's where some
mm,
of my observations are kind of mixed. Of five generations when I
mhm,
talk, the
mhm,
fourth and fifth generation, even my wife's generation, part of their time is in USA. So situation in USA is
mhm.
much different than the situation in India. And I still know that there is lot of liberation, lot of movement, lot of liberty, but it is still restricted to middle class and educated class. And I think in villages and where 60% population lives, there is still inhibitions and still restrictions on women's freedom.
Your granddaughter,
Yeah,
uh, she was, of course, born and brought up in US.
yeah.
What is her level of attachment and understanding of her heritage, family heritage, cultural heritage in India? Had she
That's a very good question.
maintained any
Very
or?
good question. Very good question. Number one, her mother being very spiritual and Chinmaya Mission member, she
Mhm,
put her in a school, Chinmaya Mission School for children, what they call Balvihar.
mhm, mhm.
And that
Yes.
imparted her the value of our culture. And she carries all those values with her wherever she goes. she's extremely interested in family history. She's the one who has interviewed me like you did. And she made me to write all my earlier life stories. And even today, in between, I send her my stories of interaction with different people, and she enjoys it immensely. She has a completely different perspective. Although she is brought up in USA, she has her heart and soul in Indian culture, Indian values, and kind of balance between the two. But she is not carried away by the Western values. And the credit goes to her mother for that. Her father is Arya Samaji. They don't believe into worship and idol worship and all that. And but her mother was a very, very serious Vedantic student, not blind student. So she has imparted indirectly all her values because all the children who graduate from the Bal Vihar of Chinmaya Mission have come up with a great career because of the value they carry on their mind. So she has got best of both worlds. She grew up in USA, she has all the freedom, and she has all the values inherited from her Indian culture.
Impressions about India when she goes home?
Well, she is attached to people in India. She talks to all her nephews, nieces on Zoom and on Skype and all. She is very much attached to India. But now traveling to India, and she used to go every year. She used to spend time with all our relatives. She will invite them at one place and meet them. But now, after 2012, I haven't gone to India. And she also has not traveled much because of her job and family commitments. It's not easy to get vacation for more than 2 weeks. And to go to India for less than 1 week is not very meaningful. But she has ties with India and she is in touch with them, and she has many connection with all the mission members, Chinmay mission members in India.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Rajni, do you have any more questions or should we wrap up?
We can wrap up if Prabhu Bhaiya has any parting thoughts.
Well, my thought is that women in India in general have come up maybe 20, 30, 40% of what were there in 1900. And there are long, long ways to go. Especially there is need for higher education for girls and giving freedom to girls to choose their career and educate them. Give them the opportunity to go to different hobbies and develop their own mind, own career. Even today, there is not much freedom to women in India. I think 70-80% of the women are still under the thumb of man and male-dominated society.
Yeah. This is, it has been literally a breathtaking journey.
Yeah.
Spanning definitely over a century. And starting from your grandmother and to your granddaughter,
Yeah.
it is really amazing, and you made it come alive.
Thank
which
you.
is really the core theme.
Credit goes to you for asking searching question in a very systematic manner and getting the answer that you would like to put in. So credit goes to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rajni, you have final words?
Again, Prabhu Bhaiya, without you, we couldn't have been able to do this. And many, many thanks. आणि तुमचे आशीर्वाद पाहिजेत आम्हाला.
माझे आशीर्वाद all 24/7, 365 days.
Thank you.
For good people like you, God is taking care of you and I am with you. I am sorry I cannot be of any help to anybody. I am so, I don't want to use the word crippled, but I am so mobility impaired that I cannot do anything except going from within my house. I just managed to walk. But again, I don't complain. I had very fruitful life and I am there for anybody who needs any guidance or any help.